Yo,
Yo! What's up? My favorite
this this,
human.
this works.
I freaking missed
I
you.
was a little reddish over here from shaving, but so I didn't shave this.
Did you shave
Miss you
for me?
too.
I'm honored.
Well, just for you.
Thank you so much for doing this. It's a total experiment, but quarantine's a great
I
time to manipulate people into doing shit.
hey, well,
I'm like, I know
listen.
you have nothing better to do, bitch.
Sorry, I've got to run. I've got. Yeah, I see people out, doing things, and I think I'm going to subscribe to something, so I can just do my workouts, just watching the TV and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't done a thing.
Honestly, though, it's been great to have like a little bit of time. There is like a little bit of this that's the rest is probably good and needed. It's annoying as hell, and I'm ready to get the world back in order, but it's nice to,
Yeah,
slow down just a hair.
it's been interesting. Um, Connecting with people, reconnecting with people,
Mm-hmm.
um, so that all that's good.
I hate people that are like, "Ah, I'm depressed or I'm anxious. I can't eat. I've lost my appetite." I'm like, who the fuck are you? Because, like, I get depressed or anxious. I eat everything. I don't stop eating.
Typically in the past, um, I don't eat. That's when I wouldn't eat.
Yeah.
So
You're
the
one
whole
of those
thing is
annoying
just,
people.
well, it's upended everything. Now I eat everything.
Yeah.
So
Well, you got to
it's
find joys
changed.
in life. Like, we've been stripped of all of our joys. So I find a lot of happiness in
I
dark chocolate
out
covered
him.
espresso almonds.
That's right. They'll not take away my chocolate donuts. I
Yeah.
refuse.
Uh
No,
uh
Mary and I, even though we've been going together for a while, a few years, picked an interesting time to get married.
You
That's for
really
damn.
did. There's so many couples that I think this thing is like expediting. Like, you're getting a lot of arguments, knowledge of each other out of the way. I'm pleasantly surprised at Todd and I not having killed each other yet.
Yeah.
Because we've never spent this much time together. Like, typically, we
Well,
have
hell,
opposite schedules.
who has? I
Yeah.
mean, who has this much time together?
I think
Really?
divorce
Unless
rates
you've
are
been
up
married.
50%.
Is that for real?
For real. And alcohol sales. Also up
Yeah.
50%, which I'm accounting for a solid 10 of that 50. I really am. I'm like, ooh.
I, I picked a bad time to quit drinking.
I love that the first time that I met you was
Yeah,
when Exile was doing a project with Trace Adkins. You guys
that's
were
right.
recording Super Love and Kiss You All Over, new versions of those. I was the production assistant. So my very first interaction with you, I'll never forget. You were so sweet. And I was just bebopping around, like, trying to get everybody's lunch order. And I was like, what
Yeah.
kind of tacos would you like, sir? Whatever. If they got chicken, like, I'm cool. And I had no idea at that moment that I had just met one of my best friends and greatest humans on the planet, KB, Kenny Beard, who
Yeah.
I was working with at the time, mentoring me, writing and management and producing and all that stuff, connected us. We were quite
You
the
know,
little trio. It's so fun with songwriting when it clicks and you have that person. They automatically become your go-to because it's like it's gonna be easy, it's gonna be good. So many good songs, lots of
yeah.
therapy
Yeah.
sessions. I was
Lots of them.
I was dating at the time. You were doing your thing, and we both. I'm poor like KB. Actually, he enjoyed it though. He enjoyed being the Dr. Phil of the
Yeah, he
songwriting
did.
world.
Allie, wasn't there a secretary or this lady upstairs that some of the things in our language, and she was hearing some things that
Yeah, we
correct?
yeah, because we were in the basement. So
Yeah.
on Music Row, all of the houses, all the publishing houses and stuff are basically like old houses from the 1900s that they just took
Yeah.
over and make office spaces of. We were just in the basement area, just cussing like sailors,
God.
laughing, all of the things that you do when you're writing that people probably don't think happen. Her door didn't go all the way to the floor, so there was like this much of a thing where she heard everything. That poor girl.
Oh
I
God.
remember when I first met her, she's like, yeah, I know a lot about you. And I was like, oh, shit. Okay, I'm sorry.
Like what?
I know a lot of people know you mostly for Exile. I don't think people realize that you are a badass songwriter, amazing vocalist, producer, all of these other things.
You're giving me quite a more props than I deserve, Allie. I think. But
I don't
thank you. I'll take it.
What's your favorite song you've ever written? Which I know can be hard. It's like saying your favorite child, but
I mean, I've heard people being asked these questions before, songwriters,
mm-hmm.
and they'll say things, one that made the most money, which is kind of true, or the most recent song I've written, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I mean, it was in stages for me. I mean, I remember as my songwriting progressed, there were moments when I realized, either during the writing process of a particular song or after it was written, that I'd taken a step up,
Yeah.
and relate to that too. I bet you can.
Yeah.
And so I don't think there's any one song. I mean, in the last few years, without a doubt, I'd have to say something like Beautiful Mess,
Yeah. Great
or
freaking song.
When He Cries, those two would have to be at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, they were huge game changers for you in writing.
They were.
The songwriting process, like, what is your favorite part of it?
The kind of unexplainable, magical thing that happens when you get in a room with your co-writer or co-writers, and this idea falls out, and starting with a blank page, and a little time later, there's a song that's crafted. It's a magical process.
I say it's euphoric. Like when it all comes together, like there's a high, a chemical high
there
that
is.
happens.
I can remember when I was writing every day, drive into town, and on the way into town, it's like this self-hypnosis that kind of starts, this hyper focus that starts to come into you. Because I would be thinking about what I was going to do, whether I actually had an idea or I was trying to come up with an idea. And by the time I got to the session, usually, I was very in the moment.
Yeah.
Even though you had to greet your songwriter, your co-writers and all that, but it was this hyper focus that started to happen. Things would just start to fall out,
Time will fly by when it's fun. Like when it's not fun, time for crawls. And you're like, is it time for lunch yet? Oh my God, I forgot that I have to pick up a pair of shoes at 12:15.
Like, please somebody call me so I can get out of this. Yeah.
I have walked into places and heard your songs playing. There have been times where I've been watching TV shows and like one of your songs will come on, and every time I'm like, Sonny!
Yeah.
What is maybe like the weirdest or craziest time that you've heard one of your songs?
It was crazy and exciting at the same time. It was the first time that I heard Kiss You All Over. At that time, our drummer, Steve, and I, we were poor as can be. We weren't making hardly any money. I was making $150 a week.
Yeah, I mean, people think that once they hear your song on the radio, you're making bank, and it's like, no.
Well, it takes a while.
It takes a long while.
So we weren't making very much money with the band, so Steve and I supplemented our income, and we worked for a landscaping company. We brought our lunches every day. We're planting shrubs and trees, and we didn't tell anybody that we were in the band. This one day, we'd take a break for lunch, and somebody in the crew had a radio. The song had just literally been released, within a few days or whatever. And I hadn't heard it yet. So we're sitting there, I've got dirt covered in dirt. This guy turns on the radio, we've got our sandwiches, and Kiss You All Over starts playing.
Yeah.
And it was so surreal because, it was hard to connect in my brain. I'm sitting there and we're not saying anything. We can't jump up for joy.
Yeah.
And just start running around. It's our song. We're just quiet as can be. And I'm looking at Steve. He's looking at me. And I'm eating my sandwich. And I'm trying not to freak out. Completely out. Because in those days, especially, Aly, radio was everything. Growing up with radio, and you hear songs on the radio. And finally, you hear your song for the first time. I mean, it blew my mind. And there I am eating my sandwich with dirt on me, and I can't say anything.
Oh my gosh. I think I would still have to be like, y'all don't even know. Like I'd have to have just a little moment and be like, I'm really happy right now. I can't tell you why, but I'm just going to be in a very good mood. Where's my weed eater?
I could have excused myself and gone to a porta potty or something and found one. And inside the porta potty, I'm dancing like, woo!
I can't, I cannot imagine. Kiss You All Over's out. Huge hits. I've
Yeah.
seen some badass pictures of y'all on stage with like the crowd behind you and all like, doing all those fun
Oh
things.
yeah.
What is your favorite performance moment?
We had gone from playing clubs, a lot, just clubs and clubs and clubs. We went out on tour that summer. Started out with Dave Mason, Eddie Money, and things were starting to pick up. Larger venues. In the first part of September, we get on the Aerosmith tour.
Oh, gee.
This is like you got to be kidding me. I mean, serious to God, you've got to be kidding me. So the first show was in Indianapolis at this big venue that's no longer there. It was called Market Square Arena. And we show up in our Winnebago. No, I think at that time we'd gotten rid of the Winnebago. We're actually on a bus. And I walk out on stage, and the lights are down. Kiss You All Over at this point is like it either was getting ready to turn number one or was almost number one. So, I mean, it was blasting up the charts, and it was everywhere.
Yeah.
And walk out on stage, the stage lights are down. They can't, they see, the roadies with their flashlights bringing people out. So the audience starts to see stuff happening. And they started applauding and screaming. And again, Aly, this is a first. We've gone from clubs and venues. And I literally had to take a step back towards my amp because I was so freaked out because the stage was vibrating from the audience, stomping their feet, clapping, yelling. The stage was vibrating. And the lights came up, and if you could have taken a picture of my face at the moment the lights came up, and I saw the crowd and they saw me. I mean, I was like, for a few seconds, I was just like in shock.
Yeah.
Then we started playing, and it was just this insanity going on. Like I'm not even believing. It was like a transcendent moment. I kind of levitated my body. Like this is unreal. And you're trying to process it in real time, and it's pretty
and
overwhelming.
Be in the moment while also appreciating the moment and like giving it the respect that it deserves.
Yeah, and you can't do it all actually in real time. It takes a while to process and to think about it after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fun.
I've had that happen in like situations where it was like a really cool opportunity that I feel like I wasn't as present in the actual moment because I was so like either overwhelmed or like it's a mix of like overwhelmed, excited, anxious, like all of those things just come together and then it's like you borderline blackout for a minute.
Yeah, you go on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
So you get through it because it is so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it does, after the fact to kind of think about it and process it to really appreciate it. You can't do it all in the moment. It's impossible.
Being on the road with a bunch of boys, men are mean as hell to each other. Who was the prankster and everything? Like, what's one of the craziest pranks that you're allowed to tell?
Steve was the real prankster, our drummer. He was just he was just doing things in the studio. He was tap dancing on everybody's last nerve, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Just pranking everybody. One of our good friends is Ricky Skaggs. So we'd set up this thing where when Steve arrived at our studio that morning, we were going to tell him we were going to do some overdubs, but Ricky Skaggs had called from one of the other adjacent studios and wanted him to come over and do some kind of a little drum thing. We had called these studios in advance to set it up. So when he arrived at each studio, there were several, that they would tell him, oh, well, they could, something was down with the studio, the mics or da-da-da. So he's over at this other studio. Mm-hmm. So he would keep going from studio to studio. Now, so we're telling this, and he's all excited about doing an overdub for Skaggs. It's raining outside. So he gets in his car, he goes to the first studio, walks in, the rain, got his drum, his snare under his arm, whatever. And they say, oh, yeah, well, oh, gosh, you just missed Ricky. He had to go to such and such studio because, whatever. Gets back in his car, and he's almost out of gas, too. So he goes to the next. This goes on for like 2 or 3 studios, really.
And you don't want to be late.
And finally, and we're getting updates. We call the studio. Yeah, he was just here. And we're dying. I mean, we're rolling on the floor.
Oh, my God.
And finally, JP said, I can't do this anymore. I got to call him. So when he got to whatever studio, we said, well, had him call us, obviously pre-cell phones, of course.
Yeah.
He picks up the phone and we're all laughing and we said, man, we're just a joke. Of course, he has to laugh at that point of
Yeah.
it too. But we got him because he was such an ass and just terrorized.
Did that take the edge off of him, or did that like make him up his
Oh,
game?
it stalled him for just a little bit.
Okay.
But
you've been fortunate enough to have success like over the decades and really see the evolution of music. How do you feel about it, where it is now, where it's heading? Like, I know a lot of people have mixed emotions about it.
I guess I do have mixed emotions. I reflect about when we came on the scene, and we weren't country like Skaggs or anybody. I mean, we brought a pop sensibility to our music and an R&B kind of thing to the whole scene. It took some getting used to radio to get used to Exile. Although when we started having hits, I mean, they kind of embraced us wholeheartedly. But I guess we pushed the needle, towards R&B popish kind of stuff ourselves.
Was that something that like organically happened, or was that something that you were kind of conscious of? Like, we want this to be.
It's just who we are. We were true to ourselves, Aly. Whatever it thinks about our music, good, bad, and different, we were true to ourselves. We were going to play our own music in the studio, which was unheard of at the time. That was part of what made our sound, is the way we played together.
If there was one song you could have written, and I have a feeling I know who it'll be by.
Really?
Kind of. I don't know. I might be wrong. I'm willing to be wrong.
I bet you'll never guess this.
Okay.
Actually, there's a couple.
Give me your top three.
We're friends with other artists. I'm good friends with Restless Heart. One of our Exile producers is a guy named Randy Sharp. And Randy and I wrote a lot of our Exile songs on the albums we recorded on Arista Records. Randy wrote one of my all-time favorite songs for Restless Heart by himself, called Tender Lie. It's brilliant. And I guarantee you this next one is not on your list either. One of my favorite all-time songs is recorded by T.G. Shepherd, Slow
I know that
Burn.
one.
You got to listen to this song. And I'm telling you, the songwriting, I mean, for the time, I love this song. And his performance is great. And I'm friends with T.G.
Yeah.
And his wife, Kelly. To death. And I've told him before, I mean, I wish I'd written that song, man.
I don't even know you anymore. I don't even know you anymore.
Who are you going to say? Tell me.
I wore that in your honor.
What? Listen. I thought you more in the country vein.
No, songs, period. Period.
Without a doubt, Aly. Without a doubt, almost every Beatles song is I wish I'd written.
Yeah.
Let It Be. Hey Jude.
That was what I was going to say, Let It Be.
My all-time top, I mean, with bar none, would have to be that.
Have you watched the Beatles, the movie that plays on the Beatles called Yesterday?
Yes.
The Let It Be scene, where he's, like, oh, I've got this song. Like, play us one of your songs. And the family, like, I know family means well, but any musician, songwriter, performer has experienced that moment where you have your baby and it's so pretty and you've waited so long to share it with the world, and then you do it and they're like looking at their watch, like fiddling with stuff, and it's like, stop. I watched it on a plane, and so I had headphones on, and I was sitting next to Todd. Stopped the movie when that scene was over, and I was like, I don't think you can process how much I just connected with a scene of this movie so much. What is something, being in the music industry as long as you have been, that you did not expect to learn?
Well, certainly the business side of the music business. You can't really be prepared, or I wasn't prepared for that. It's not a pretty sight.
No.
When you're the flavor of the week and everything's going great, it's great.
Yeah.
And when you're not, it's not.
And then when you are the flavor, it's hard to sustain being that.
Absolutely
like then
is.
Like people think, oh, you've made it. You're doing this. You've got a song on the radio. You've got that. And it's like, no, now there's a whole other box of challenges that just opens up. They're like, oh, we'll take that from you here. Good luck.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh shit. Okay.
I wish I could actually quote verbatim the Hunter Thompson quote on the music business.
Mm-hmm.
It is hilarious.
Because it's
It's
too on point.
true and true.
Yeah.
Absolutely spot on true. Anyway,
What is your advice to songwriters, musicians out there? What would you tell them to be prepared for?
number one, rejection. You're going to be rejected. I mean, rejection is going to be in your face all the time.
Yeah.
And, don't take it personally. I'll tell you this quick story about Beautiful Mess, as a matter of fact. Speaking of rejection, when the song was written and I walked into one of my pluggers' little office space to play the song, just the writing little cassette of it, I got an earful of things that needed to change about the song,
Yeah.
which I wasn't expecting. I mean, I walked in there with this song thinking, and this is a pretty good song. I mean, it was different.
Yeah.
It was cool. Even with your team sometimes, everybody can't hear it every time, can't hear every song. Oftentimes I would take constructive criticism to heart, and try to improve on a song, write a bridge or do something different. But this time, I was convinced that this person was wrong about their criticism, and they were. And of course, and it went on to do what it did. But even sometimes within your own team, you can face rejection. I mean, the first artist that picked it up, that put it on hold, which you may have heard me talk about this, was Faith Hill. He had it on hold for about 9 months. We even went back and did a special female version of the song just so it could be in her brain all the time. Dan Huff was producing her at the time and kept telling us, yeah, she's going to cut it. She's going to cut it.
Oh, my gosh.
And 9 months when she didn't. And I was crushed. So 2 days later, when literally it was about 2 days, when Diamond Rio cut it, I was like, oh, no.
And it's one of my favorite Diamond Rio songs. Like, I love their approach. But yeah.
So I was like, bummed out. And when I went to the studio, I literally, their engineer, Mike Clute, invited me to the studio to hear the cut. And I was like scared to death. Like, oh my God, I'm going to hate this. Oh my God. I go in and I sit down. He puts me behind the board. I'm sitting there, starts the tape. I'm listening. And I went, oh my God, this is incredible. This is great.
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, I mean, they just blew me away with it.
Do you prefer performing out or do you prefer songwriting?
I got to have both. I started out as a musician in a band before I ever started writing songs. I came to songwriting later. Performing, being in a band was the guiding thing. And when I discovered songwriting, there was that thrill, like you're talking about, all those endorphins let loose and that high that you get from writing.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those people. I mean, I can't differentiate. I'm always going to, well, as long as I can, as long as my brain holds out, I'm going to keep writing. And as long as physically we hold out, I'm going to keep performing live.
Yeah.
I got to have both of those things to balance it out.
If music was off the table and that was not an option, what job would you what career would you want to have?
I'd probably want to fly an airplane.
Really? You'd want to be a pilot?
Yeah, I love, I watch on YouTube things, about planes and in the cockpit and over and over again. I love that.
Is there any job that you would not, like, absolutely hell no, if I was broke, would never do?
Be an accountant.
Yeah. Just staring at numbers all day. Any projects, I know you've been producing all sorts of things. So is there any project right now that you're working on?
Exile, whenever we all can get back out on the road, whenever we are scheduled to do a new Christmas project.
Nice.
We recorded a Christmas CD 3-4 years ago now.
Yeah.
For the first time, the first one we ever did. And it was very successful. It was really a lot of fun. Well, we were in the process of preparing for another one. I have recorded an artist out of New York that you're familiar with because you sang on the project. He will be coming back to town in May or June. We're going to do some more stuff, and I will be calling you, by the way, for some BGVs.
I'll be there. Ken Wilber's great. He's so good.
And I'm just doing my little silly live videos every day, or trying to do them almost every day.
I was about to say, like, you have to talk about you've got a YouTube channel.
I do, and
you were with it. You were hip.
So Mary talked me into doing this, and okay, let's do this. I've been, of course, trying to do these little videos of songs I've written,
I
or
love him.
cool songs that I find, that I'm really interested in, that I like. And the other thing, I set up a piano in the house, and because I love piano. I can't play it, but I love trying.
Yeah.
And I'm learning a lot. It's frustrating as can be because I'm not good. I hate it,
Yeah.
but so I'm just entertaining myself doing that.
For those people that don't know, you've also done, because you did Exile, you did
Yeah,
Burning Daylight,
yeah.
and then you've also done
There was,
the Selby Mills Lemaire SML project, which is amazing.
yeah, that really filled my heart and soul, that project. Unfortunately, of course, we lost Mark Selby about 3 years ago now, 2.5 years ago, cancer, which was, it's still, it's just tough for me to even wrap my brain around. Our collaboration and our camaraderie was just, it was one of those things where, it was away from Exile, and it just was a whole other thing that I really, really loved doing that. And I miss it terribly, miss him.
But what a beautiful thing to have
Oh,
this
yeah.
project that you can share with people, and that there's so many memories attached to writing it,
Yeah.
recording it, playing out the shows that I got to catch a show of you guys, and it was so good. It's a great thing to look back on. I'm the same way with KB, with him passing.
Exactly.
When you have that musical connection and you can collaborate but also absolutely be your own self at the same time, that's a rare, amazing thing when it happens. It's easy to forget that the journey is amazing and beautiful, because we're always trying to get to that next level, but the moments that we have are so amazing.
Can I put in a plug for you?
Yeah. I mean, feel free. What would you like to say about me?
What I want to say is you're like my kid. Mary and I, my wife and I, you know how much we love you.
Love y'all.
And every time, that we can come and see you, and for folks that have not seen you perform, and I know you've got your podcast up, they see you there, but to see you actually perform with your band is an absolute joy.
Oh, thank you. When y'all were in the audience, I was like, yay, Sonny and Mary are here. I was just so blissful that the last time that you guys came to my show, because it was just so great to connect when your worlds connect. Well, I love you. I miss you so much, and Mary. Cannot wait until we can get back to normal. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, reminisce, all of the beautiful things.
Anytime.
Okay, so you've got your YouTube. What is your handle on YouTube?
Just Sonny Lemaire.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely want everybody to go check out your videos, because they're so good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will let you get back to your day. I love you so much.
Love
Mwah.
you. Bye.